Hello, my name is Nathan, and hello, family and friends. Today is Monday evening, so the day after the race, and this is my race report for the Ironman full distance triathlon race that I completed yesterday. If you've been following my journey there, this is my video diary. Hopefully it's been interesting and maybe even helpful. But certainly I've been doing this as a way to be accountable and to have some kind of record on the journey. So it's been a weekly video. I did a bonus episode the day before the race, which was Saturday, and today it's race report. So before I get into it, a shout out to Chalky White and family and friends who I met in two places. And you guys know where those were, so it was great to meet you guys. Safe travelling back home for you all. So you're also going to hear some reasonably, well, to me, quite embarrassing details, but it's important that I acknowledge those things and mention it, not only, I guess, for you, the watcher, but for me being accountable for those things. So, race report time, here we go. So the swim went, I think, quite well. The conditions were moderate rolling waves, which I absolutely didn't expect, but that's what it was served out on the morning. And also on top of the moderate rolling waves was some chop. So the wind was stirring that up. Now, if you were a person who's aware of what those conditions can do, you should have been expecting, and I certainly was, that if it's stirring up the water, it's going to be out on the course inland. So that was absolutely in my mind. I was trying to do a little bit of drafting out there, but I wasn't overly successful with that. And then I did find a good handful of people who were drafting off me, but I found it a bit weird because there was their arms going weird places around my legs, and I couldn't really understand because drafting off people is pretty easy, and it's just tapping on the feet is what you should feel rather than sort of the weird placing of arms that was going on. Anyway, so this particular course had a section where halfway through, roughly, I think it was a little over halfway, but halfway through you had to get out, run around an area and then get back in and do the other, well, just less than a half. So, the only unfortunate part was when I got out, for some reason my brain went somewhere else and I wasn't sure how to exit. So it was the exact same place, just go to the right and continue forward, and then you're up and over the bridge into the transition area. So I asked a volunteer and everything was all okay. May have cost 20 seconds for that, but anyway, it happened. So through to the change tents, which is what you go through in a full distance race. And out onto the bike. And yes, I was absolutely correct and expecting, because where I live, wind out on your training rides, you don't even have to ask for. It is always a given. And sometimes the noise from the wind is so loud in your ears around your helmet that it can unsettle you. So I did plenty of that, and I guess I got that bonus for free on many occasions. So I was well prepared and expecting, and also because I've done the race on 3 previous occasions. So my strategy was as early as possible to get as much free speed, and that's when you have a tailwind. So because the bike course changes directions multiple occasions, there will be times when you're getting free speed, as I described, but also plenty of times as payback for a headwind, or should we say with a headwind. So my strategy was to be as efficient as possible and just get through those sections so you can get back to a tailwind, hopefully, or no wind situation, or next to no wind. Now I had 3 stops during the bike, and sorry, I should go backwards a little bit. My swim time was 1 hour 8 minutes, and my bike time was 5 hours 28 minutes. So so in my 5 hours 28, that included the special needs stop, so that's at roughly halfway. Then there was a first stop, I think at around the 1 hour 50 maybe. That was a toilet stop, and I made the right decision. Wish I didn't have to stop then, but yeah, it was definitely made things a lot more comfortable, and of course got rid of what I needed to. And the last one was, I think, around 4 hours, 4.5 perhaps. I stopped to reload my electrolytes, and just basically that was it. There was no more need for electrolytes. It was a top up. Needed top up because I knew I wouldn't have made it to the end without that. So reload and finish the bike course. So the power on the bike was about 153 watts. That's average power. Normalized power, I think, was closer to 160, low 160 something. Now, that's just simply not good enough, and simply need to have better bike strength and more efficiency in those payback headwind areas. I noticed that I think it was for a good amount of time, maybe 1 to 2 hours, just my gut was sort of tying itself in a bit of a knot for a while, and I was hoping it would either go away, but I had a cramp fix gel, which not a gel, but a little bit of solution in a small packet, and that's been my go-to, certainly in running, if that sort of issue comes up, and it saved a number of recent races for me. So absolutely, that product works. So I ended up using it getting closer to the end, I think maybe 45 minutes to the end. I also you may recall, if you've been following me, my fueling eating period interval was going to be 20 minutes, which I very much held to, but because this wasn't going away, I did push it out to half an hour, probably in the last 90-ish minutes, and that seemed to help, plus get some more water in. I had some left shoulder pain, so that's just behind or near the shoulder blade there. That's happened come and go type situations for me. Left glute pain later. The left shoulder pain was probably there for a good 65% of the rides. That's not good. But the left glute pain was certainly probably the last 45 minutes to an hour. So that's not cool, because that's where you're trying to put power down in that glute area. Saddle pressure was reasonably consistent for, I'd say, 4 hours. Sliding forward from the saddle, which you just sort of shuffle around a bit and try and make sure you hold back. So I need to deal with that, but that was going on. I drank about 7 to 8 bottles of fluid. That's a salt water type mix, Himalayan salt I use. And then pretty much the 1 to 2 bottles of powdered carb fuel was what I used in those 2 bottles. I used Morton gels, Cliff bars, some chocolate bars. That's plain chocolate, not mixed with anything else. So I used a method of multiple sources of carbs. So it's different types of carbs. And of course, that's what I'd practiced in training. I found it was quite successful. That method worked for me. So we finished that, like I said, 5 hours 28. I was certainly hoping to be inside 5:20, but certainly the point is not to panic if you're outside of what you hope to do. But once again, into the change tent area. This is where the embarrassing stuff starts. And then, in this section, so we're out on the run course. Now, if you've been following me, my previous plan was to run to about the 15k mark, which if things weren't going well, was going to be the 12K or even the 10K mark, and then start the strategy of running between the aid stations, taking up to 30 seconds of walking and just resetting the mind and body type situation, and just continuing the rest of the way in that fashion. Well, I was feeling very good out on the run, and so good that my 5-minute pace I had to pull back a bit from, which is good when that's happening, because I was 450-ish and I didn't need to be there. So 5 minutes pace, 5-minute per K pace, was very achievable. So, and the body was happy to stay there, and I was happy to slip down to 5:15, because if you could do that for the whole distance without having too many stop breaks, that puts you in at a very, very good pace, and overall time. So 5:15 average pace. If they were handing that out, I probably would have accepted it. But of course, that's not how this works. So, because I was feeling good during that first lap, and I'm just summing everything up, the temperature is good. It stayed good, as we were expecting and hoping. So I decided let's do 2 laps. So that would have put me at the halfway mark, which it did. Then I was going to do that short break run between the aid stations. So the only thing so I changed that on the fly, and what ended up happening is I had multiple toilet stops. And of course, these are number 2 toilet stops. The guts start to sort of churn and pull. It's the best way I can describe it. And of course, the body says, no, you're definitely going to the toilet. So that was at the 6K, 11K, and 14. And then at the halfway mark at the 21. So that's 4 stops. I certainly would have expected 2, possibly 3, but we're at 4 and we're only halfway through. There were other stops which I did as I was walking through the aid station, just recollecting myself. But if you looked at my pace, you would have seen that after those stops, I was back to normal pace. So I wasn't capitulating so early. Everything was fine, but each of these interruptions cost me in that pace that you can just be at all day. So then at 30K and I think 34K, and then eventually I got to the 39K and I couldn't believe it. All the toilets at the aid station I was at were taken. There were like 4, I think. Fortunately, by some ridiculous miracle, there was a brick toilet block, and I went in there and was able to get that done. All the while, I absolutely wanted to be inside 4 hours for the marathon. Just absolutely wanted that to happen, and tried to not let that go. Now, on Thursday, because I'd always heard about this and have never been able to actually do it, so Thursday before the race I'm talking about, I changed my diet to concentrating on a low fibrous situation, because on all the research it talks about easing the gut in terms of its processing of your food. And of course, if you've got lots of fibre, you need to go to the toilets a lot, which is obviously a good thing for normal general good health. But if you have lots of fibre in a race, like I have every other time, and in my training runs through my normal diet, you will be going to the toilet on a number of occasions. So, like I mentioned, this is to be expected, plus it's a whole day event. So you will be going to the toilet on some occasions through this situation. So that's what I tried to do to see if this would make a difference. Now, it's only speculation that because I've done this, there's been 6 or however many actual toilet breaks that I've taken. So I don't understand what the body needed to evacuate so many times. Now, in terms of fuel, to the halfway mark was glucoden. Now, that's powdered glucose that I use in 2 small bottles. Then I went to Morton Gels. Then at roughly, I think it might have been the 33, 32 kilometre mark, I switched to Coke. And because I could get it in, it's liquid, just pour it in and move on. No chewing involved. So that I stayed on Coke all the way to the end, and it worked. Now, my best run performance was at this course on a similar coolish day, and that was 3 hours 51. So yeah, disappointing that the body was sabotaging me so much in that type of situation. And I certainly need to investigate this runner's trots issue. So next category, so that was it, and meaning that the time was 10 hours 47 minutes, which put me at a position of 31st in my age group. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is collateral damage to the body and my equipment. So I'm happy to say, and the main reason for this is because I used the massage service provided by Evolve College, and that was the guy there was absolutely fantastic, great professional, and to me it was a no-brainer that after you put your body through that type of situation and stress, that you would do such a thing. And he didn't cut any corners, gave me a reasonable amount of time, and he did great. So I'm very thankful, and that's always a wise decision, that anyone that puts themselves through this go through a massage after. Can't recommend that enough. So back to my body damage, is pretty minor compared to all my 4 other events of this distance. Now on my left outer chest, about here, and it's a swimming situation, there's just a few rub marks from the suit, which I thought I handled with the glide stick, but obviously just must have missed that little bit, or bad technique, whatever. My right third toe, so counting in from the big toe, 1, 2, 3, it got banged up a little bit. It's only red, not bruised. Just realised I'm about to hit the end on my video time, so I'll pause here. And I'm back. The next thing was sunburn, which is pretty mild on the sides of my face. Probably not surprising there. A little bit on my hands, and that's about it really.